So, first of all, I'd like to start off by telling you a little story. All right, it's a true story. So, this happened back in my polytechnic days. All right, so listen carefully. So, it was my final year and my final semester, and we had to do a final year project that was going on, and it was all going great. It was not a problem. And now at the end of the semester, this before the exams happened, we had to submit our reports on the project. All right, and usually how everyone does this project is uh, along as the project goes along, as we're doing the project, we just enter the details and we just go along with the report. All right, so that's how it usually happens. You fill it up in advance. So this was assigned to me in or us our team 5 months in advance, and this is and the normal method, like I said, is how we do it in over 5 months. And as you can see, this is how it goes. So it starts off with 1 month, and eventually you increase your work schedule, and at the end, at the deadline, you submit it, and it's easy enough that way. But of course, my lazy ass didn't want to do that, and this is because I had 5 months to do everything. All right, and it didn't really work out this way. All right, and 1 month passed by, and this happened. I didn't do anything in 1 month, and I upped all the schedules for the remaining months, and that kept happening. And 3 months go by, and this happens. I just kept on increasing it, and I didn't really get anywhere. And eventually, this is like this phenomenon, you call it basically the opposite of imposter syndrome, right? It's sort of like overconfidence. And I hope you guys know what I mean, I'm sure, because this usually happens to everyone before the semester exams. You know how when you have a few days of study leave before an exam, and the first few days you feel pretty confident, and it's like you think it's pretty easy. What's the big deal? I still have 3 days left. The subject is also easy. And trust me, I live in a hospital and I see this all the time. People are normally relaxed, and the day before the exam, everyone is super stressed. It always happens like that. And it's kind of annoying that happens, and that's the truth. So people, and now after, just like a day or two before the exam starts, they start to realize that the exams are a lot tougher than they thought, all right? And they start to stress out. And now they realize that they should have studied earlier. And when we have time, we feel like it's easy, and we don't feel like it's too difficult, and we don't feel like starting soon. And when the time is a lot less and there's a deadline involved, and we start to panic. All right, so the same thing happened to me during my final year project report, and I massively underestimated it. And 4 days before the actual deadline, that is when I started, and this is how it ended up becoming. 5 months blew past me, and the deadline was just massive for me. It was very hard. It was absolutely horrible. All right, I was super stressed, and those 4 days I pulled like two all-nighters, and believe me, humans are not built to pull two all-nighters, and it was crazy. I constantly called my teammates, and sometimes even in the middle of the night, I had to ask them the data. Like, for example, what was the voltage on in the month of August? It was a solar project, so during the midday or during the evenings, what was the voltage, and just random data like that. It was infuriating, right? And I finished the work in 4 days. 5 months worth of work in 4 days, and it is. I don't know if I can name it. If I can name it as a hard worker, but it was definitely. I'm pretty proud of it, to be honest. And on the due date, on the deadline at 11:30 p.m., I sent the email, and it was done. 4 days of hell was over. And the next day, I go to college. Right, listen up. I go to college, and it's my project guide's period. He enters the class. He sees me. He's like, Prakash, come here. All right. So I go to the front of the class, and he looks at me in the eye, and he shakes my hand, and he says, Prakash, your report was amazing. That was the best report I got in my entire career. He said that. He's shaking my hand, and he was congratulating me, and the whole class was clapping for me. It was amazing. That was a complete lie. All right, that did not happen at all. The report was good, but it had all the data. It was okay, but it wasn't what it could have been. All right, that was a lie. So I just didn't have enough time, as I might say. And you know what? You know what's sad? This is how it usually happens. Everybody does that, and that's what happens everywhere. Maybe not to my extent, but that's what happens to most circumstances. Let it be reports or exams or events or competitions or anything. That's how a vast majority of people get things done. And now all of this can be defined with one word, all right? It's procrastination. That's it. Now, how can you beat procrastination? And the key to beating procrastination is, but first understanding it, all right? So let me take you on a tour inside the brain of a master procrastinator. Now we're all adults here, all right? Or at least I hope all of you are adults here. And an adult is what we have inside our brains. So this is I wasn't able to create slides, so this is the best I could do. So you're gonna have to adjust to that. So this is the brain, and this is the adult, all right? And he's driving. I mean, he's sailing a ship. The ship being a body, and he is the captain. He is a rational adult. He is very rational. He is what the perfect example of ourselves should be. But there is another person in the ship, all right, and that is the kid. He is a present pleasure kid, and all he cares about is having fun. And whenever we get any free time, this kid takes control of the ship and he starts to sail the ship. All right. So this is what happens. He takes control, and we are just left behind. And now the adult is too weak. And what the kid does is he just wants to have fun. All right. Even though the adult is rational, he gets tricked by the kid. And because the kid does fun things, for example, if we have any free time, instead of doing online courses, he plays PUBG or whatever. I don't want to sound like a lecturer or something, but that's pretty much what we do. That's what I do. So we have to admit it. And the adult goes on. He just says, you know what? Who cares? We are having fun right now, and there's still time, right? And that's what we all do too. He just says, I'm having fun right now. There's still time. Uh, I can do this later. And this is what goes on for a very long time. All right. That is what happens. And suddenly, when the deadline is near, there's not a lot of time left. All right. We're all, the time is very low. And that's when a new, a new character spawns in our brain. And that is this guy. I'm going to name him the panic monster. All right. Now, the panic monster is the only person that this kid is afraid of. So the kid goes running out. All right. Sorry. It's over here. All right. He goes running out, and now the control is back to the rational adult. He comes back and steers the ship properly. So he takes control of the ship. And that's when the bad feelings start kicking in. That's when we first start feeling guilty. We get stressed. We get panicked. Panic gets induced in us, and we start doing our jobs. And that's how I was able to finish my report. And that's basically how the mind of a procrastinator works. All right. Now it's a little metaphorical, I understand, but that's basically how it works. It's true, all right. It's 100% true, because I've listened to TED speakers who have done actual research on this, and it's 100% true. This is how it works. And if I'm being completely honest with you, this is what actually happened to me, all right, with this exact pep talk. I was given the opportunity to give this talk like 4 to 5 days ago, but I actually started working on it last night. Yeah, I actually finished the speech like an hour ago. I just finished it. And till yesterday, I was just relaxed, and I thought it was just a little speech. I've given many speeches before. It's not was a big deal. And last night, I was a bit more serious and started the speech, because the speech is the next day. I have to start sometime. And this morning, when I woke up, I wasn't nearly ready, all right, because I was super stretched. I started panicking. It was like, I have to get this done by 3. And it was extremely stress inducing. And that's when the panic monster inside my brain spawned, and I started working. I finished this, obviously, as you can see. And so that's the role of our brains, all right? And this is how the mind of a procrastinator works. I am a master procrastinator. I'm not proud of it, but that is the truth, and I'm sure many of you are too. So, you know what makes humans different from other animals? All right. So different people from different fields will have different answers to that question. But what you need to know is humans have the ability to see the big picture. All right. We can imagine the future and we can create our own paths. Remember this, the big picture. We can see the big picture. All right. So there are two types of procrastinations. All right. Let's talk about the first one. The first one is with deadlines. Now, this one is easy to overcome as the deadline comes closer and there are real consequences. We get stressed. That's when the panic monster comes in, and he will make you get your job done because you have real consequences if you don't get it done. All right, that's the easy part. But there's another type of procrastination, and that's the one without any deadlines. And this one's really dangerous because it has no real finish line, no consequences for inaction. For instance, some things that you have self-started, an entrepreneurship, exercising, seeing your family, and in these scenarios, there is no panic monster involved. All right. Once the kid inside your brain takes control, he's going to be there for a very long time. It's going to be hard for the adult in you to actually overcome him. And as you can see, this is when there are no deadlines. The adult is panicking and the kid is in control. I've even drawn muscles. He's pretty strong. That's what happens when you have no deadlines, all right? So there's no panic monster to scare him, and so this will keep going and going and going on, and the adult will not be able to take control of the ship. And at least, or at least it'll be extremely hard for him to take control of the ship, all right? And that is why people give up, and that is why it's so hard to overcome distractions. So I want to show you this. You guys see this number? It's 2080. All right. And I want to ask you a question. Does this seem like a big number or a small number? Now, obviously, that'll depend on context. And what if I told you that this is the number of weeks that you have in your entire life remaining? All right. This is the number of weeks that you have in your life, assuming that you live an average of 60 years, give or take. All right. Now, think about that. That's all you have. That's all the number of weeks that you have. 2080 is like not much. All right. Think about that. Now, here comes the $1,000,000 question. All right. Now, how exactly do we stop procrastination, and how, or at least how can you reduce it? Because the kid in us is very, very strong. We can't stop it altogether. The kid needs to have fun. All work and no play makes Jack a dull guy. So we need we need to have fun too. But how do you reduce procrastination? There are a few good ways to do this, but one of the best tactics that I have seen is to stop before making any decision and try to identify that kid, right? Find him. Now, that's actually pretty easy. Just think over the choices which you have in front of you, and which one of those choices is from the kid and which one of them is from the rational adult. And the one from the kid would be something that you would probably benefit for now. And it'll probably be a waste of your time, and the one from the adult might seem inconvenient, but when you think about it, it'll actually benefit you in the long term. So that's the one from the adult. Now, let's take the example of a dilemma I had a few days ago, right? So hopefully you guys can see this. I'm not really good at drawing. So this is One Punch Man, all right, and this is Python. So One Punch Man season 2 came out, and like a few days ago, it came out a long time ago, guys, but I downloaded a few days ago, all 12 episodes. But my dad told me to study, go more deep into Python. All right. So on one hand, I have this. On the other, I have this. One Punch Man is an amazing superhero with amazing like skills and stuff. I just wanted to watch it. It was fun at that time, but Python was important. It's one of the most vital programming languages there are. I knew the basics, but my dad told me to go deeper, and I knew that would be pretty useful for me. So, what should you do in a situation like this? All right. A good method is by thinking like a machine, right? Think about that. We need to think like a machine. A machine is only completely rational, right? It only does the things that lead to a solution. Irrelevant things are completely ignored by machines. It doesn't need to get things from the outside. It's just focused, all right? It's like a horse with two blinds on its sides. So they try to do things in the most efficient way possible in the least amount of time. All right. So they try to do a very specific job very efficiently. But honestly, we're not machines, right? So the least we can do is at least stop when we're trying to do something like I just gave you an example, and just rethink our approach. Now, I'm not gonna act and say that it's easy, all right? It's hard. It's really hard. Most people fail. Most of us here itself will probably fail, and me included. I probably will fail for. I won't stick to it for too long. I hope so. I will, but it's pretty hard. And uh, but the thing is, any achievement is good achievement, and that is what they mean by "don't give up" or "never settle" or "just do it." All these slogans, that's what they mean. It's pretty hard to just do it because there's a huge distraction with with a kid involved, right? So this is what they meant by hard work. This is what the hard part of the work is. It's hard work. It's hard to avoid distraction and concentrate. It's very hard. I admit it. But unless you want to blindly depend on luck to succeed, this is what we need to do. We have no other choice. All right. And you know how people say, I have no motivation. All right. My motivation skills are totally down. I'm just completely exhausted, or I have no motivation for the most part. Now, see, the truth is, motivation doesn't really help people. All right. So 90% of TED Talks, they don't work. Those life hacks on Reddit you see, they don't work either. Those happy, upbeat BuzzFeed videos and articles, and especially those motivational videos, right? You know those videos, everyone has seen them, right? They come out during January, during the New Year, and it's always those high energy with the loud music, all right? And I'm pretty sure you've seen it. And you see all these athletes and basketball players and football players practicing and exercising in slow motion shots, and you see those cinematic angles and shit, and you see sweat dripping from their foreheads, all right? You might, man, they don't work maybe for the first few days, but eventually it gets old. So stop and analyze the situation and do what the adult in you tells and not the kid. All right. Now I'd like to spend a few more minutes talking about time. All right. Now time is fascinating. All right. Ever since a kid, I've always been fascinated by the concept of time. Fun fact: did you know that time slows down the faster you move? So, say for example, if you're in a high-speed bullet train, you're actually aging slower. That's very true by a very very tiny fraction, but you are aging slower. And time also depends on the mass of the object. So, if you guys are watching, if you guys have watched Interstellar, you probably know this. When they're next to a very high, massive black hole, their time moves a lot slower. All right, and it's the same thing with a fly. Flies have very low mass, so you see them moving a lot faster. And for them, we are hellishly slow. So that's just how time works, and that's just a fun factor, right? So in the grand scheme of things, time is just an aspect of the space-time continuum. Its significance is actually next to nothing. It doesn't matter. Even gravity overpowers it, and that's why Einstein said time is relative, because to us time is everything. Literally everything revolves around time, and time is money, as some people say. And that's literally true in the movie In Time. I don't know if you guys have seen that movie with Justin Timberlake. So basically they use time as a currency. People literally live day to day earning time in their lives, hoping they'll live tomorrow. And in a vague reality, that's kind of how we live too, because remember, time is relative and it's worth differently to different people. For example, say your wife or your husband or your boyfriend or girlfriend, your time is worth absolutely nothing. All right, you will gladly spend hours and hours on end with them, and you won't even mind it. But to an annoying freak like, let's say me, your time is expensive. You won't want to spend too much time on me, and yet you guys have spent this long listening to me. So I really hope it was worth it. So remember, every second you spend on something, make it worth it. All right, make it count. So let me just give you an example. Why do you think private jet industry is so profitable? Even though commercial flights are a fraction of the cost, they go everywhere. They have better reliability, and they have better amenities like whole rooms for yourself for the first class in Etihad and Singapore Airlines. And yet, business travelers and executives spend much more on private jets because they save you so much time. You don't have to wait for everyone else to board the flight. There's no security involved. There's no check-ins. You have your own private terminal and gate. And because the time of these guys, the executives, the most elite of the elite, for them time is so expensive that private jets are justified. For example, my personal role model, Elon Musk, earns about $20 million every hour. Every single hour is time is worth $20 million. Imagine that. And he's not even that rich. There are people far richer than him. Imagine Jeff Bezos. Imagine Bill Gates and Warren. It's amazing. So remember this, guys. Know your worth. All right, always know your worth. How much does your time cost? Try to calculate that and try to spend it wisely. Are you losing more money than you're earning? Only you can decide that for yourself. All right, and um, that's it. Time is money, and learn to spend it wisely because it is valuable. If you learn to spend your time more wisely, it'll be worth more, and only you can decide how much your time is worth. Thank you. So before I want to go off, I wanted to just give you a few examples of what you can do in, in in this quarantine time. So my first suggestion is to learn a new language, right? So I've been learning German, sorry, for the past few days because I wanted to go to Germany after I finished after my studies. So that's an example. So try to learn a new language. Whatever your plans are for the future, somehow a foreign language or a local Indian language could be useful for you. It's fun. And second, try to learn for personal finance. I cannot stress this enough. Personal finance is very important because a lot of us will probably go looking for jobs later on. We'll find jobs. We have to do taxes. We'd have to save up for retirement and emergencies and insurances. And it's pretty hard. They don't teach you this in school or college. You need to learn this on your own. Most people learn it the hard way. So I suggest learning this right now. Personal finance classes. It's very useful. And another one, it's IQs. All right, try to increase your IQ. I know IQs are very controversial, but they do help. All right, because try to improve it. Try to do more IQ tests. A few days ago, I did an IQ test. My IQ was around 137. So let's see if you can beat it. If you can beat me, just text me. Uh, Now, another one is negotiation skills. All right. In the future, right, negotiation sounds like it's a very niche topic, but it's actually very useful. Whatever deal you're making, wherever you are, negotiation always takes a part in it. All right. If you want to succeed, if you want to make the most out of your profit, negotiating really helps. And next is public speaking. Like I'm doing right now, it's not too public. Not a lot of people are watching, but it still improves. All right, so learn that it benefits you greatly, whether it's in GDs or talks like this. It's very useful. And finally, share your creativity to the world. All right, whether it's in a YouTube channel or whether you're having a podcast. For example, me and my friend, we created a podcast this quarantine, and we've been doing pretty well, and it's kind of fun. And people I've seen my classmates drawing and just creating new Instagram accounts and people singing. It's really really fun. So just try to learn new skills, right? And that is how I want to finish my talk today. So thank you, Civil Department, again for having me again. And finally, if you guys want to check me out more, I have a YouTube channel, Prakash Ganeshan. My Instagram is Prakash_Ganeshan_, and I I don't know if you guys are interested in more fascinating stories. I write blogs. Prakashganeshan.net. It's prakashganeshan.net. So I don't know if you guys are interested. Go ahead. Thank you everyone for coming, and hopefully it was useful for you. All right. Thank you guys. Bye bye.